I'm going to call this meeting of the Halifax Planning Board to order. This is the meeting for Thursday, April 18th, 2024. I need to announce to you that myself, Tom Ilias, is participating remotely, as is still allowed by the Commonwealth. If anybody wants any documentation of that, we can provide that to you. Also, I want to announce that the Planning Board meeting is being recorded by Area 58 and can be viewed on YouTube. The physical location of the meeting is 490 at Town Hall, 499 Plymouth Street, obviously in Halifax. The first thing on the menu for tonight, it isn't actually listed, but let's talk about the agenda for a minute. It's a relatively small agenda. Is everybody all right with the agenda? Can I get a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. As per the Commonwealth, when the chair is participating remotely, we need to do a roll call vote. So I will start at one end of the table. Brendan Elliott?
Brendan Elliott, yes.
Amy Troop, yes.
Bert Gaynor, yes.
Rick Mary, yes.
Tom Ilias, yes. All right, thank you all. First thing on the agenda is petition 1001, Pasaya Nasrallah, a special permit application to put up a sign located at 416 Plymouth Street, farm stand. Do you have physical copies of what we're talking about in terms of sign and or location?
Oh, that's,
We have the application here. Do you have the application? Do you want me to go over any of it?
I do not have a copy of the application. That's why I was asking if it was at least present. Can you give me a description of it, please?
Yes, it says nature of the petition as a tenant to put up a 40 by 48 sign to display the farm name. It is asking for a special permit. And do we have 4 copies of a certified plot plan, Danielle? And 4 copies of the application for the hearing sheet?
there's 2 down here.
And there's one right here.
And you have one.
Okay,
Yeah.
Maybe you could share one if you say.
I'm just going over the application,
all right.
just as he's not here and he asked me to.
Yeah. Yeah, there's 4.
All right.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It says here in the directions that we need to have a public hearing.
Was this not advertised as a public hearing?
It was.
Okay, was it in the newspaper ahead of time too? Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I thought it was. I just wanted confirmation.
Okay, so we probably should read this into record. Notice of public meeting. The Halifax Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Thursday, April 18th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the Board of Selectmen's meeting room at Halifax Town Hall, 499 Plymouth Street, Halifax, Mass. On the application submitted by Pasaya Nasrallah for a special permit to put up a 3-foot 6 by 4 freestanding sign said to be located at 416 Plymouth Street, Halifax, Massachusetts, 02338, as shown on Assessor's Map 72, Lot 10, Book at the Registry of Deeds 52462, page 7. A special permit pursuant to 167-13E3C, a lot with frontage of 300 feet or more may have 2 such signs not less than 175 feet apart. Property is zoned commercial. Petition number 1001.
Thank you.
Should we
Much
motion
appreciated.
to open the hearing?
Yes.
So this is a motion to open the hearing. Can I,
Second.
and we have a second.
And we need a roll call vote again, please.
Brendan
Start
Elliott,
with
second.
Brendan.
Brendan Elliott, yes.
Amy Troop, yes.
Bert Gaynor, yes.
Rick Mary, yes.
Tom Ilias, yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Does the petitioner want to present his,
Sahaya is here in the audience, right?
Yeah, he's here.
okay, would he like to present his case?
I just want to, put up a 40 by 48 sign on the property closest to the farm stand, so people would know they're traveling on east or west on 106, that would know where I am, all, that's all I'm looking for. Now, this sign is just gonna be a freestanding sign with our name on it. So, our name and cornucopia logo, and that's it.
Okay, obviously it would, in fact, if it was approved, it would have to conform to the regulations of the signs bylaw itself in terms of style and application. Does anybody have any commentary?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question of the applicant, if that's okay?
Certainly.
Is this just for our own benefit? This is basically the exact same sign, correct me if I'm wrong, the exact same sign as what's out on the, that's out on the front lawn of the town hall at Hemlock.
Yes.
Duplicate size, dimensions, everything.
Same size.
Oh, so that, do you recall when the selectmen approved that sign, how long ago that was?
I think that was in the 90s or 80s. At first, they gave me a sign that was a 1 by 1.
Yep.
And nobody could see it, so I went back to the selectmen and I got that sign.
And they approved that one.
That sign.
Same thing, and again, there's no lights on it, no interior lights, no exterior.
And it's in a historical district, and it's black and white. The only thing that's colorful on it is the cornucopia.
Okay, and approximately, Mr. Zahai, where are you hoping to put it? Basically dead center or
Dead center.
200 feet, 150 feet from,
I'll probably put it like within 120 feet from the car wash in.
oh, from the car wash in?
Yes.
Okay, so basically right in front of the overhead, the arbor. Okay, thank you. And again, it complies with, as far as you know, setbacks from the street, from the curbs.
I'm gonna
And,
be 10 feet away from the sidewalk
right,
and no lights on it.
okay.
The only issue is that there's other signs on the lot, right? Isn't that the only thing we're dealing with here? And it's like, in the other signs that have been put up on that lot, not all the businesses are even still there anymore, right? Or that
Yes and no.
Rockland is there, technically Rockland's part of that lot, but it's a whole separate building, and then they got the big one, and then so the only thing keeping him from having that is that those two are there within the same span.
Yeah, and plus
I-
Rodney's threw up a sign there
Well,
too.
that's what I
That's-
mean.
That thing's actually kind of hideous, but,
But in the same breath, Danielle, there's no application for that Rodney's Kitchen sign, right? There's no special permit that exists for it.
no.
Yeah, we couldn't find one.
Yeah.
So I think
That sign is probably in direct violation. We should probably notify the zoning officer to look into that. There's no question in my mind that sign was just put up without any authorization whatsoever, but it's not us to enforce that so much. But I think we could notify the zoning enforcement officer to look into that. I think that's a point taken, that that sign was not an allowed use, nor was there a special permit for it.
I guess where I was going with this is that since his lot is completely separate from the bigger building, where that one sign, large sign with all the smaller units on it, I don't see what the problem would be. I get it, it's that we need the special permit because it's in the bylaws that we have to get it approved, but I don't see what the problem would be to have that separate sign out there for him. I mean, do you? I mean, it's a whole, like, if he was part of the bigger building and wanted his own sign off the bigger sign, well, that's a problem, because then every single business inside that building is gonna want its own sign. That's gonna look terrible. Since you're in your own separated section of that land, it makes sense to give him that sign as a business owner in town, I would think. But
Following up on what Brendan just said, and I hope I'm not talking over you, I can't quite tell.
you're good.
I think you're absolutely right. And in my opinion, that is the reason for special permits, to allow for special circumstances. This is a unique property. The businesses that operate under the roof of the main building, I think would have to be limited to that multi-directional sign out front. And they can also put signage on the front of their storefronts. I believe the bylaw is still to a maximum of 60 feet of the length of the building can be used for attached signs to the building. So they have avenues there. But where this is separated from the building, I'm in total agreement. I think this is the reason we have special permits. I think this should be allowed. And even as freestanding signs go, in the bylaw, the freestanding sign for one business is allowed for 30 square feet, and we're not even getting close to that. So he's not asking for anything outrageous. I would be in full support of granting a special permit for this particular purpose. If anybody else has anything to offer, please.
Should we open it up to public comment?
Yeah, sure. I couldn't tell if anybody was there, so I.
Hi, I'm Fred Corrigan from 7 Rosewood Park here in Halifax, and I have a couple of issues with this particular application, if I may. First off, Mr. Nazarella is a very important business in this town, and I realize that, and I respect his business. However, there's a few things that have been going on that have, in my opinion, should not have been going on. And there is a picture that I will give to the committee showing a sign that Mr. Nazarella has posted in his previous location, which looks like a piece of junk, which has been there to say that his business is a half a mile down the street. That's a violation of our building codes, okay? You cannot advertise like that. Secondly, that sign is not within the bylaws of our in size and structure or character that we want to see in Halifax. So in my opinion, that sign better come down pretty quick before we even think about putting up an additional sign. Secondly, at the zoning board meeting, Mr. Nazarella excused himself from being the chair. I was there and I asked the question, what about handicap parking? And he said, oh, I have one space right there. Well, let me show you this space. It's right there under my thumb. When you look at that space, it's at the east end of the plaza, right on the west side of where his driveway is. Now visualize a handicapped person getting out of their car, or their handicapped van, whatever, going up that ramp that leads up to his parking lot where his customers can walk in the flat and go right to his business. Why isn't there a handicap spot up on top of it? When you think of these tractor trailers coming in with 40-foot trailers loaded with mulch, coming west on 106, making that turn, coming up that ramp, and now a handicapped person trying to walk up that ramp because that's how they have to go. And now this big trucker who's watching the traffic so that he or she can turn in, and here's this pedestrian right in the middle of that wall. I'm saying that while we're talking signage, we need to look at another situation, which is the handicap parking on the particular lot that we're looking at. Next picture I will show you is I stood in front of what used to be the church, and those signs should be coming down off the face of that building, as Brendan had suggested. We have some things advertised there, such as the church and the medical center, which are no longer there. But there is only one handicapped spot from where that canopy is, and that's the one I just pointed out to you at the end of the building. Handicap parking should be within 50 feet of the business. But the other thing is that even though that handicap spot may be 50 feet from Rodney's, that means that that handicapped person, once again, gets out of their vehicle, has to cross and head west to Rodney's, and here's this traffic flow, and now we've already approved the building in the back to be a manufacturing site to put in, to build sheds. Now, I don't know how much retail they're doing out of there, but if you're talking to me about building sheds, I know we got some trucks going in there. Something's gotta haul these things in and out. So here again, the handicapper walks across this traffic. Then, as we look at this last picture which I took, if you were standing down by that canopy, the original, when the church was there, and the medical center, there's 4 handicap spots down there. There's not another one on the west end till you get to Rockland Bank, and there's nothing on the east end until you get to the one that I showed you in the first picture beyond Rogers. So I think that while we're talking signage, and this is all on this particular property, that the zoning officer, because the permits that were given for these other signs were way previous to our present zoning officer. So I think his involvement is very necessary, and this particular situation with handicap parking relative to our safety of our citizens, I think is rather important. Okay, thank you.
I have a comment, if I'm allowed. Everything I'm hearing is probably accurate, and to what was alluded to, everything I just heard are enforcement actions. And it's the property owner's responsibility to provide the adequate amount of handicap spots and/or access to any particular unit. And that's something that we need to basically forward to the zoning enforcement officer to investigate. I'm not dismissing anything that I just heard. I just think it's separate from the sign issue. As far as the sign on the other property, that's also an enforcement issue, other than the fact that because we are granting a special permit, we could in fact require Mr. Nesrella to take that sign down once.
Mr. Chairman, a quick question. If I could address Mr. Nesrella, does that sign belong to you? Is that your sign that's at your old location?
No, that's,
So who, oh, if you could stand, yes, and identify yourself.
sorry, no, that sign doesn't belong to me. It was there when I took the property over.
So it's
I just
legal?
enhanced it a little bit, and if you guys want to take the sign down, I'd be more than happy to take it down.
But it's not your sign.
No, it isn't, but I put the
And it's
letters
really
on.
not your sign to take down.
No, I put the letters there to tell the
sure.
people that I moved down the street.
Yeah.
I'll be more than happy to take the sign that I put on that sign out and tomorrow morning.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that what you were raising your hand for? I didn't think so.
No, and as far as the handicap, I would ask the property owner to put a handicapped location in front of my building, in front of the building where I operate. I'll ask him to put a handicap place. That's all I do.
Great. Because in addressing those issues that Fred brought up, basically bottom line, if the handicap locations are down by the awning in the bank, there's still a sidewalk that in front of the building that leads all the way to your building. So they're not walking across the parking lot, the
No, there's
pedestrians, they're on the
one
side.
handicap right by where you go into to my place.
Right, that
There's
was,
a handicapped parking space.
was that for Rodney's kitchen?
No, there's another one for Robbie's on the other side.
Okay.
It's that picture that I wrote on. So my question was actually not for the public, it was for somebody that might know the bylaws a little bit better. When it comes to parking in handicap spaces, I know we have a requirement of spaces per employee and occupancy and square footage. and
Per
all that.
square.
Per square footage. Is there anything?
It depends.
Is there any thing written that says the location of the handicap spaces that need to be on there?
I'll be honest with you, that's the first time when he mentioned it has to be
That was my
50 feet.
Yeah.
I've never
Building code
The
67.
Massachusetts Architectural Access Code covers all of that. It's 521 CMR, and it has very specific language in it in terms of proximity to sidewalks and what have you. And again,
So
that's
my
a,
question- if-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The one I wrote on, so my question was, and the reason is because I think, just to be clear, this handicap space is just outside of the front door of your lot, right?
Down at the bottom of the driveway.
No, I get it. I get it. So in order, there's a separator there, right? So, but in order, but like, this is his space plus in front of his space, right over here. So if the code says that there needs to be a handicap spot within X amount of square feet of his front door. 50, right? Well, from here to here, I mean, obviously you can't really tell, but if that's 50, it may just be in the code. Now, is it the most efficient place to put it? Obviously not, to your point. But if it's actually within the bylaw of where it needs to be, that's actually not his problem. That's the
If I could, Mr.
that's the property owner's fault.
Mr. Nezarella, too, is that, you can have a seat.
Right.
Mr. Nezarella, in fact, isn't there a guardrail, for lack of a better term, in front of the parking lot? Is there a break in the guardrail?
I know exactly.
From the handicap place? So per se, they're not walking all the way out into where car traffic will be. There is a designated break in the rail, in the guardrail, and going to the front door of your place. So it's not like they're walking up the ramp into traffic.
From the door to the building to the break is about 30 feet.
So what I was saying though is, although it may not be the most convenient place for where it needs to be,
And that's the-
it may, right, what I'm saying, but my question was more, if there's a handicap spot within 50 feet of his business, although it's not the best place that it probably should be, it's not really his problem because it satisfies.
it's almost like the most,
It's like they put it in the wrong
impression
spot, it's still in
getting the
there.
impression that if you're handicapped, you can only park in the handicap spot. Is that what they're saying? It's like the handicapped people can park in the other spots too. It's just
But to your
providing a
point,
place that nobody else can
It's not a good
park.
place for it to be.
Not a safe place.
It's not a safe place for it to be. And your point is absolutely valid. My thing more for like the point of the written rules, it may actually be compliant, although it's not efficient.
And I think if you take a rule around, you'll find that if they try to walk through that break in the guardrail that you're talking about, that a handicapped person would have a great deal of difficulty making it through there.
Yeah.
They would be going up the
And
right.
again, not ideal, but
Right.
not illegal.
And not as dangerous as walking out, as you had stated, walking out into the traffic area. There is a designated, call it walkway or a break in the guardrail for them to safely get to the front.
Actually, where that little parking lot is where I am, that's where the gas station was at one time.
Hoppies, good old hoppies.
So where I was going with this is I completely agree that that's not the most efficient place for it to be. And we should probably ask, like you had said, ask the property owner to put a new handicap space to be more common sense, right? Although that's fewer and far in between now. But at the end of the day, it's just one of the, like, your list of things were very valid and we want to make sure we check those boxes. It just, that doesn't, if that's within the right distance, even though it's not in the right space, it still might actually be in the letter of the law, but I have a feeling you have something else covered down the pipe. Because you said that there was something else.
Mr. Nezrella's property is also kind of unique in that it's a sort of an expanse. You know, if we're considering just going into the enclosed area, that's one thing, but people are going to access that whole area where there's plants and whatnot. So it's really kind of hard to confine how people are going to travel there. But it needs to, you know, typically you make your adjustments to the actual, like for instance, of the checkout station, which would be in the enclosed area. But
If they said that a handicap spot, you have to have two of them, they have to be the first two spaces in the parking lot in the very beginning, in the very front of the house, the front of the building. If that was what it said, then that would be very different. Then we'd have to have that conversation. But if it doesn't say that, that's why I was asking, is that what it says? Because if it doesn't say it, it just says there has to be at least one within 50 feet.
And there has to be an 8-foot wide lined area where the handicapped person can walk in. Okay, that's part, if you look at 167-13 on your bylaws, you're gonna find some of the information that I just gave you on this bylaw, on this handicap. My other concern with that handicap spot being where it is because we know there's a new business going in the back, and that business is damn sure more than 50 feet away from that handicap spot. So something has to be done. We need to talk, and my whole purpose here is not on Mr. Nazrela, it's on the property itself. And I just want the committee to be aware that we need to talk to the property owners and the enforcement officer, and let's get together and get some, because if you have to be 50 feet from the building, the ones down at that far end, you may have 4 of them down there, but they aren't 50 feet from the middle of that building where the other businesses, and where we've got new doors in for new businesses, okay? So that whole property needs to have a reassessment, in my opinion.
And if you can get a hold of that guy, I'll give you $100. Right now.
Therein lies the problem.
Be a private detective.
I was gonna say, I have a feeling if there's anybody in this room that could, it would be you.
That was one of my occupations many years ago. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? I have a lot to say. I'm very ashamed right now of this board, because here we are again, discussing things that should have been on the site plan, that should have been peer reviewed, and they were not. And we let them go, and here we are tonight again. And I am not against your special permit for the record at all. I do think that some of the signs need to come down, and I see the reason for a special permit, so it has nothing to do with that. Wholeheartedly, that all of a sudden, here we are with 416 Plymouth Street, having this come in front of us, and our next situation come in front of us, after the building is completely divided, we don't have handicap spots, we're putting the town in. Because we have,
It's bad.
I have every right to finish my thought.
he was talking to.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were stopping me. My apologies. We have roads that have locks that won't allow us to take them, and that was not following the bylaw. We have here again this, and this is a major issue. We're not following handicap CMR because we did not have a peer review like necessary needed to be. And I know exactly where the owner of that building is. He's on South Street, and you see him quite frequently, don't you?
I don't see him now.
But you do see him.
I see him once in a while, yes.
Yes. So wouldn't you think that all of this would have gone without all of these problems? Perfectly fine. If the site plan was done and peer reviewed, we wouldn't be going over this. It would be a lot happier, and we wouldn't be putting the town in danger, because we're not following the bylaw all completely. So we have other places in town that need a site plan.
Well,
Where is this one? Because this one was not peer reviewed, and obviously, if we're sitting here asking for compliance, if we're asking for compliance on handicapped, and we just, what was the date that we approved the site plan for 416? Do you have it right here? Is it on here? It's not signed.
11/9/22.
It was like a couple meetings ago. Tom, do you recall what day it was?
No, I don't. But you know, if you want to go down that road, this thing should have been done when the new owner bought the property and started doing stuff. And that goes back several years. But
Yeah, what
No,
was that?
I tried.
Was it a pre-existing non-conforming building when it first came up? In other words, none of these requirements were even written back. If it was pre-existing non-conforming.
In May of 2023, there was a vote when there was 3 of us here right before you were elected, Mr. Milius, that they all of a sudden pushed it through without a site plan review. We had it, that it needed to be done, and then you guys just did it again. I believe it was the first meeting of April, but I could be a little bit wrong, but right around there.
well, it's
And
been
this-
going on for many years, and most of
Only
these
because of
people weren't even on the
votes.
board at that time. I believe you were.
These 2 were. It was myself, Gaynor, Mary that were there that night. And I voted no. So
Voted no to what?
voted no to the site plan for Nesrales. And it's not because I don't like your farm stand. I do. I want the site plan done because we have to be the same to everyone in town in order to have our laws followed. And not have lawsuits. And not have problems due to handicap spots not being here. Because here we are a couple of weeks after this was approved. I believe it was May 21st. March 21st.
All the grandstanding aside,
I'm not grandstanding, I'm telling the
if we
truth.
want to go down that road, there are
It's not
plenty of other things
grandstanding when you're telling the truth.
that other properties that didn't get pushed to the limit either. In this particular instance, everything we're talking about right now is enforcement actions. In terms of handicap parking, it's all enforcement.
It was supposed to be on the site plan. If the site plan was peer engineered, none of this would have gotten by. There was doors that weren't on the plan where we would go, oh, we'll just have that come back in. Have we gotten that plan yet? Have we gotten the plan peer reviewed?
Did Mr.
No.
Brennan show up at one of the meeting and actually review the plans? Didn't
No.
we get a letter from Mr. Brennan?
No.
He didn't peer review Nezarella's farm. I thought he did.
I had the peer review.
He did.
I paid the town $1,000 to do the peer review.
Yeah, so I remember Pat making comments
All
on it.
he did was make a couple of comments.
So what did you pay
and
But it did have,
$1,000?
it did have a
It was
peer
never
review,
done.
and Pat Brennan made comments, and he was okay with it.
No.
It was a separate, I wasn't there at the meeting, but I was there for the meeting before and after, so I'll be careful not to speak on what was discussed at that meeting, but it was a separate section, just his section was done, not the whole site plan for the whole
Oh,
building
for
space.
Mr.
Just for
Nezarella's site.
that space was
But
done.
it wasn't 100% done how it should have been, because we had already denied, and this is the problem, it's continuing to go on because we're not doing it correctly. And we have to do it no matter who it is. No matter who it is.
I mean,
I keep hearing
I
that.
think we
but
need to reopen the site plan and have it done correctly to make sure that the town doesn't get in a spot with a lawsuit.
So Mr. Nezarella has to pay another $1,000 to have a
No.
new site plan?
No, the owner of the property needs to
so
do.
that's
A peer
what
review.
happened. That was the problem, is we
Right.
were requesting an
Yep.
entire site plan, right? And we all agreed that it needed to be done by the whole building, including what Mr. Nezarella's new business was gonna be on. But the business owner refused to do that, so in compliance and in every efforts to try to make this work, he paid to have his section of where his business was going to be done through a site plan through Mr. Brennan.
Yes.
Mr. Brennan, right? And then that came back. Now, I'll be careful because I wasn't at the meeting where you guys discussed it. You voted no, you guys voted two, so it passed 2 to 1, whatever. And then it pushed through. Now, to Amy's point, it wasn't technically right because it should have been the whole building site plan, which would have addressed these things like the handicap spaces and all that other stuff. However, it was done. We're here, and we're here to talk about the special permit for the sign at this point. So I know it's all one and the same. However, unless there's going to be a site plan done, a new site plan done, which we have requested, and we haven't approved that shed building. If you remember at the last meeting, I specifically told those people, if you can get the business owner to do a site plan, we'd love to have you back.
Oh, he came back.
He did.
He came back, oh, he did?
April
Do we
4th.
have
He had a
that
full
site
plan.
April 4th then it was.
Okay, so that was one that I
March.
wasn't at. Jesus, okay. So we have, but do we have a full site plan on the new building out for peer review?
Without all of the, like, so there was doors added on a weekend. There was, and nobody discussed anything solidly on where the handicap spots would go, and it did not go out for peer review, which we agreed every time, every site, and I was outvoted.
Understood.
What we had there was a change of use in that building.
Change of
The fact
use,
is,
division of each place.
Any changes of use in the new building is a place where, not the new building, excuse me, the existing building is a place that we can hold the owner's feet to the fire, if you will, for
Yeah.
an updated site plan.
It's shame on me for not being at that meeting. Jesus, that sounds like a reoccurring situation, but I'll call myself out on that one. But we've been trying to track down this business owner, like this building owner, for a site plan, a new site plan to be done. And shame on us if we didn't use that opportunity of the change of use of that building to force the hand to be done. I mean, but again, I wasn't there. I wasn't at the meeting, so I shouldn't speak on it. However, that's not
Well,
really.
since then, it's become apparent that there's been other changes inside the building as well.
I told you about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those changes need to be addressed in terms of parking. I mean, the square footage hasn't changed, but use makes a difference in some cases. Not all, but some. That's a place where we could,
So I think, does this go back to your enforcement issue?
as far as handicap and that kind of thing, that's an enforcement action right now. But if he is continuing to alter the interior portions of the building, and if that classifies as change of use, for instance, when the church was there, that was assembly use. If that's gone, and somebody needs to look at the uses that are currently being proposed inside the building.
And that is
At
what I
point-
asked to be looked at. I asked to be looked at it. I let you know, I let the board members know that 2 doors were added to the front. I certainly did, and that they divided that, but nobody cared. And the peer review was not done. And don't, because this is not okay.
Would you like to give you a list of things you passed on?
All right, so.
Push through.
Stop.
I would love it. Let's hear
We're
it.
talking about a sign permit.
Let's hear it.
Let's stay on track here.
I agree with you, Tom, to the point that the square footage in the ground floor area has not changed. The footprint itself has not been added to or detracted from. If doors were added, or stairways were added, or petitions were added, or petitions were taken off, nevertheless, you're working with the same amount of footprint or square footage, floor space, sellable retail space. And as long as it's business use and it's not a change of use like we have had it in the past, it's still being used on a commercial business basis. I think whether you have 1 door or 2 door, it doesn't change the square footage or the usage of how the property is being used. It's not a substantial change, and it. Frankly, I don't see how it even involves the planning board, to be perfectly honest with you.
Because it was part of the site plan.
I'm trying to talk with the chairman, if I could, please.
When the permit application is applied for, that's when the building official, who is almost always the zoning officer as well, makes a determination as to whether there's a change of use or not, and if that triggers any other reviews. That's typically where that happens in every time.
Well,
And-
here, when we had a site plan in front of us and we knew certain things were being done and we were and had pictures of and know that K-9 already took over the back of the church. The front was divided into 2, and this is a known fact. This is when we have to say, well, we have to check our parking spots because it is not by square footage, it's by use. Because every other building in town, for instance, down where Flower and Soul is on Plymouth Street, we had to review things based on what the use was to make sure we had enough parking spots to allow it. And so therefore, it does fall upon us Because at the site plan was here.
Somebody has to make the determination that it is in fact a change of use.
Well, we did.
Nobody's making a petition to the planning board to ask if the change of use is allowed or not.
It was already in front of us.
It starts with the building permit. I've been doing this for 30 years.
Yeah.
It starts with building
Very
permit.
nice.
The building official makes the determination that it's a change of use that triggers site plan review. I'm not saying that the site plan down there is correct. That's not what I'm saying. But if we're going to get technical about it, the planning board doesn't go around policing this stuff. Planning board goes to the building official and/or zoning enforcement officer and says, do we have a change of use there? That's how that's generated.
Except for the fact that we just had it in front of us, Tom, so that is different.
Can I make a suggestion? I think Mr. Nezrela has already addressed that he's willing to take down this sign as of first thing tomorrow, so that checks that box. I think as far as the handicap sign, handicap spaces are considered, I think you're absolutely right that there is either not enough in the current space and also not efficient as to where this needs to be. I think that we need to address that with the business or the building owner and ask them to fix that and correct it. However, at the same time, he's obviously not going to be compliant with us asking for a site plan review, so there goes again the or else, right? Like what we were having a conversation at the last meeting. You ask somebody to do something, unless there's a consequence, most people are going to go, I choose or else. So we can certainly ask, so at least we can say for the record that we certainly did ask. With the special permit, which is on the docket, which is what we've had a hearing open for, I personally think we also need to address the other signs that need to come down, which is an enforcement issue, right? Which we'll obviously address because it's in the record as we're saying it. But as far as his sign goes, from a special permit perspective, I think that for all the reasons we've already discussed, I would support that in whatever fashion we need to go about approving that or voting for that.
Okay, well, I will let you know that our next appointment tonight also has to do with the same exact building.
Okay.
That's another issue. We'll deal with that when we
I
get
get it, but we have to do one thing at a time.
I think we should continue this to the next meeting so that we can make sure that the sign for Rodney's will come down by enforcement, because otherwise we're gonna be going above and beyond our site, our bylaws and having 4 signs on one property.
So if I could,
That's not the applicant's problem, unfortunately.
That's what I was
It is
gonna say. You can't-
it is the zoning enforcement officer who needs to deal with that particular aspect. And as far as the sign at the other building goes, excuse me, this is a special permit.
Yep.
He's already offered to take that down, the lettering down. He doesn't own the sign.
Well, that's not what I was talking about.
no,
We
she's not
can make
talking.
that a condition
That wasn't what I was
to
talking
take the
about.
letters down.
Yeah, no, she's talking, so what she's saying is she wants a continuance to make sure that the other stuff, like the other signs, the riding signs and all that other stuff come down, which I agree.
No, not on the other property.
No, on this property.
Yeah,
No, I get it.
Rodney's,
Yeah, Rodney's, right. At the end of the day, though, at the end of the day, we're respectfully, I disagree with you only because that Rodney's delinquent sign, I don't know if delinquent's the wrong word, but it works. Delinquent sign is not Mr. Nezrela's problem.
No, but if every single person on that property went to the owner and said, we need a site plan done, and we need this done, and we need that done, instead of granting everything for the property, then maybe we would actually have something done, because there would be a consequence thereof.
I get it.
But
However,
if we give the job away, we have no leverage whatsoever.
I understand where you're going with that. I just think it's difficult to hold, it's hard to hold a single business owner hostage in order to try to unionize the occupants of the building.
Couldn't agree with you more.
I understand what you're stating, because I've already
Because I
stated.
agree with what you're saying as far as that
Well,
goes,
then
but
we-
also you
how are we
can't
gonna
hold
do
that
it?
against him.
It's not about a person, it's about making sure that we have the owner come back, because here we are, we're knowing now. We now have been told.
So, right. So
Constructive
What
knowledge.
you can do with that is, there are other changes being done inside the building. That's where we've overlined.
right. So
Because it isn't just a change of use, it's a reconfiguration of the existing building. And we need to talk to the building inspector. As far as the sign goes, the Rodney sign goes, that is absolutely an enforcement action. There was no special permit to that. I don't believe there's any permit to that. At least my investigation didn't turn any up. So that's something that we need to notify you about, that we think that needs to be acted on.
So I think to kind of wrap this up, I know you got your hand up, so I don't mean to keep speaking over your hand.
I just want one last thing, when you get a chance.
No, don't go for it.
As far as the enforcement officer goes, when I approached him relative to a couple of these issues, he said there's a permit for that. Well, if one of our enforcement officers previously had issued a permit, they were wrong, okay? And now it lands back, okay? But from a standpoint of enforcement, and we're saying we're having trouble with this business owner, okay? Well, if these signs on the front of this building, of the property, are not there anymore, the church isn't there, you know, the handicap parking is wrong. So there are enough violations here that at $300 a day per separate violation to that property owner, which the zoning officer can enforce in writing, can send him a letter and say, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. These are illegal, this is in the wrong place, this has to be corrected, and for each one of these violations, it's $300 a day. Okay? Do you think you'll get his attention?
That's a good point. So I'll leave it to those of you that know that process. What I was going to say is, although I agree with you, and I do not think that you were maliciously targeting Mr. Nezzarella as an individual. However, and this isn't a but, this is by holding the property owner accountable through keeping him from us being able to vote for his special permit. Although you're not specifically targeting him, it's keeping him from being able to perform his business or advertise his business. So although it's not targeting him, it's really the business, it's the property owner. Essentially, he's paying the price for the property owner's delinquency. So
It's not, because he's there and there's things that are.
But he's the one paying the price.
But there's things on
And
his
I'm
site
not
plan.
pointing at you.
There's things on his site plan that are not accounted for on his site plan. So when we keep, it's like raising a child. If he asks for a cookie and you say no, and then a couple minutes later you give him one, he's gonna know the next time he asks for a cookie, you'll eventually give him one. It's a
We have an opportunity to address this exclusive of this signage issue. I don't think we should hold the sign up based on everything else that's out of this man's control. We will be able to shortly be able to start addressing some of this stuff. And the finding system, to Fred's point, it's up to $300 per day, with each day constituting a separate offense. And it's actually, you can write it on a 21D citation, which is actually enforceable by the clerk magistrate from the district court. Not that they ever want to hear them, mind you. They hate this kind of thing, but it is available.
So, at any rate, I think a lot of your everybody's points are valid on both sides, right? And that's the whole point of having a board and not just one or two people, right? I think the site plan from the beginning should have been done right. It wasn't. I think a lot of the ways and steps that were taken to get to this point were probably botched in some level or another. I think that the good news is we do have the ability to go after him or go after the conversation or the topics that are on the table. But we got to come back to, I think, the special permit for right now. And I don't see, based off of the conversation we had so far, what would delay us from being able to take it to a vote.
Well, we do need to have a sign, a picture of the sign for our files.
You did have a picture before.
It wasn't,
You will make that a condition of the special permit to provide us a sign.
I believe it's in the file, isn't it? There it is.
I don't see it, but it doesn't have measurements and all of that. It doesn't. And then for every other.
Doesn't it say on the application?
For a special, but you should have it That's how it's.
You can also make the size of the sign into the motion. You can repeat the size of the sign.
Right, but in usual times, we have a picture of the sign with the measurements and that's what we go over. Remember, like when we did Flower and Soul sign, we had it all done, just as an example. We did that for the, for numerous spots around town. That's how it's usually done, and the way, if it's done properly each time, then we don't have.
Keep in mind, he still has to apply for a building permit for a sign. This isn't the end of it. This is a special permit to allow the sign, not necessarily the permit to actually erect the sign. So he still has to present something to the building inspector.
And it's 40 inches by what? 48?
I believe that's what I hear, that's what I wrote
40
down.
by 48.
Yeah, 40 by
Danielle, do you
40.
have that hearing notice thing again?
Something like that?
Yes, it's the same sign that's up.
It's a duplicate of that sign right there.
Yeah, no, I got it. But that's essentially, when you apply for the building permit, if you could please, if, assuming we go and vote yes for your special permit, could you please do us a favor and submit this?
3654.
Mr. Chairman, would you accept a motion on this petition?
I'm ready to accept the motion, and you can put those conditions in the special
Yeah,
permit.
that's what I'd like to do.
The sign, the size and all of that.
So it's 3 foot by 3'6", so technically that is 42 inches. So just for, so I've marked it up for you to take home with you.
No problem.
Okay, so if,
We'll need a picture of that too, so Danielle can probably make him a copy.
yeah, so if you can make a copy and make sure that he has that.
Or you can take a picture with your cell phone, you have that ability?
Yeah.
So I'd like to make, I
And
was,
again, that's considerably smaller than what a freestanding sign is allowed. I mean, you're allowed 30 square feet in a freestanding sign. So he's not even approaching that. So, it's not offensive, I don't think, and it's not deleterious to the area. I think this is a reasonable application of a special permit. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, because I know you're via Zoom, so I was gonna say Brendan Elliott is making a motion that we approve the special permit based on Mr. Nezarella providing the building permit, a updated picture with the correct size on the dimensions on the picture of the proposed signage.
Do we have a spot where it's going?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to add. I know Mr. Nezarella tonight discussed approximately 125 feet from the side, from the sidewalk, from the car wash. Look, I don't want to say it has to be 100, but if I could use the word approximate, if it was in the general area of 125 feet. So if this was
It'll be right in front of the,
1 inch per 50.
Yeah, right here.
the overhang that I have there.
Yep.
It'd be
Directly in front of it.
directly in front of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'd be 200.
Well, no, right around there, which would be somewhere
right in front of that.
here.
Yeah, that general. Just so it's not a substantial change, it's the general area where it's going in front of the building. And again, if I could,
Include that in the motion.
Yeah, I got it. I'll do a new one.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is anything else before I do this a third time? Okay. Yeah.
What about the existing sign that is hanging already on that property? Does that come down, or does he then have two signs?
what existing sign?
He has a sign already at the zoning board meeting.
On the building?
He has it on where he has it's like
The overhang?
the overhang there, right on the face of that, it says Nezarella Farms.
Right, that's allowed by bylaw
Okay.
to be on the building.
Yeah, that's allowed to have it on his
Just in case.
Yeah, I got you.
Just
Okay.
come down. Okay.
Brendan Elliott makes a motion to approve the special permit for Mr. Nezarella's freestanding sign with the request that he provide the building permit with the signage picture with the correct dimensions, as well as the sign going approximately 120 feet.
120, 125, whatever.
Approximately 120 feet into the property line, which will line up directly in front of the overhang structure on his property.
25 or 75? 175 or 125?
I thought it was 120 is what he said, 125?
125, I'll go to
Yeah,
125.
from the car wash side
Right.
lot line.
From the east boundary.
I think what we just measured out was 175. That's why I was.
That's why I went approximate, so.
Yeah, well, I know, but I'm just,
2 inches would be
that's why
100.
I'm.
If you want, I'll put stakes out there where it's going.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty, it's not dead center of what this is showing.
I
us
just wanted to
with it.
make sure
Yeah.
because it was a different number.
And again, it would be, Mr. Elliott, in compliance with the setbacks from the sidewalks and.
Which I think would be
10
in the
feet.
building permit. It would be the building inspector's job to make
Yeah.
sure it files
Okay.
it. So I don't think that needs to be within our motion, but, so that's the motion, for the record. Mr. Chairman.
Bert Gainer, Vice Chair, I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and it's been seconded. And again, we need a roll call vote. Can we start with Mr. Elliott?
Brendan Elliott, yes.
Ms. Drew?
I don't have a problem with the sign and therefore I'm saying I don't mind it, but I would like the Rodney's one to come down. So I'm saying
May
yes.
I say something? I would talk to Mr. Rodney, the guy that owns the sub shop.
We're gonna send a letter to the building inspector.
That would be my
correct?
next motion, that'll allow
Yeah, we'll do that.
If you want,
I'm all right with your sign. It doesn't
No.
have anything to do with bringing up
Not
the
the
site
com-
plan.
Not to complicate this thing, there is something Rodney could do in lieu of that sign. We do allow in the bylaws for sandwich boards, no pun intended.
A what?
A
Sandwich.
sandwich board sign, the A-frame sandwich board sign.
Okay.
That is allowed in the
Yeah,
bylaw, there's
yeah.
a size restriction to it, and there's a restriction that it can only be out during operating hours. And we had that put in specifically for public safety, because if somebody wasn't there, or we had a storm, and things were blowing around,
Yeah.
there would be nobody there to tend to the sign. So he's got other options other than this particular sign, so it's, but again, that's an enforcement problem, and if in fact, if there was a permit issued, zoning is one of those areas where there is no grandfather. It's either allowed or it's not allowed, and anything that happened that wasn't allowed is still a violation, regardless of whether a permit was issued for it or not. Inappropriately, he would have still had to have gotten a special permit, and that didn't happen.
And again, as Mr. Elliott had stated, again, that's not part of the petition, that's the application in front of us.
So,
Ask.
yes or no,
Yes.
multiple choice.
No, I'm stating my reasoning because that's what I do.
I know.
And so, yes, I'm okay with the special permit with those thoughts.
All right, Bert Gainer, I'm voting yes in favor of the petition, 1001.
Yeah, Rick Mary voting yes.
Tom Elias voting yes. Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could make a motion to that too, I recommend that a letter be sent from the planning board to the enforcement officer / building inspector to review the compliance issues with the requirements that should be in place up on the lot.
I'll
By all
second.
means.
I'll second.
Brendan Elliott, sorry, I was gonna say Brendan Elliott, yes.
Yes, you did. Ms. Drew?
Amy should be yes.
Bert Gainer, yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
He
Tom
voted
Elias, yes.
Thanks, Mr. Nizzarello.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, my friend. I'll be calling you some more votes.
Me too.
Thanks, Rick.
Yeah.
Finally, the mulch.
Yeah, of course. Just was right.
Thank you.
All right, moving on.
Aren't you glad you're going second?
They didn't know.
Welcome to Halifax.
Yeah, this is not the most enviable place on the agenda coming up. Our appointment is 24. I assume that stands for special permit.
Special permit request.
245 for 432 Plymouth Street. I may not pronounce this correctly. Tejas Patel, did I even get close? Site plan review to open a smoke shop
There you go.
You get two tonight.
Yes, sir.
And one of the occupancies located at Halifax Park Plaza. Interesting, okay.
That's what I said.
Who would have thought?
And one of those two new doors they were putting in, probably, right? Okay.
Will the applicant like to speak?
No, basically, it's more just to let us know what you're trying to, what you'd like to put in, what the plan is for the business, you know, what your intentions are, that kind of stuff.
It's a smoke shop with hydroponic supplies.
Okay? Oh, I'm not supposed to ask questions yet.
There you are.
Okay.
Why not?
But not a cannabis retail smoke shop?
No,
Okay.
we're not doing anything.
Okay.
We're supplying.
Similar to the cigar and smoke shop that's attached to the dunks?
I would assume so. Cigars?
Yep.
Okay, can't be all.
I mean,
Lottery too.
I'm good with the lottery, but I'll be back. I'll be back for the cigars. Off the record.
How many square feet is the store?
The total property is I think 1,800, around 1,800 square feet.
1652 or something?
Out of that, we.
Oh, there it is, 1652. 1,652 square feet. Yeah.
Do we have a site plan? No here.
You need those for the record.
So if I understand this correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Patel's unit, the gym, the dog care center, and looks like Tika's all share common men's and ladies' rooms?
So-
Yes? No?
As I see in the property, that whole thing used to be a gym. The gyms get out, that's a boxing club right now.
Yep.
That's another unit I'm gonna.
Okay, so where are your men's and ladies' rooms?
Mine?
Yes.
Particularly mine, I think,
You're gonna share this one?
yes.
Okay. So Tika's and everybody shares,
So this is what.
they have a common men's and ladies' rooms, I guess. Same thing with the kickboxing gym.
Yes.
There's doorways to a hallway in the back that leads to the men's and ladies'
Yes,
room.
that's a hallway
Or just
Yes.
signed?
to get in the bathroom and that's a day of care.
Oh, this is what you're talking about, right.
So when they put the hallway in, that's another doorway that was added on, the one there on the side?
Yes.
So they just updated it. Gotcha.
Another door.
So this is the site plan you were talking about, 3/20/2024 of the building. Updated for the pump house.
But look, so there's no door over this side on here, over here. Now they have those two doors, but there's none here, and there's a door.
And then there was this
And then,
created.
yeah. So at one time, all of this was one thing, when the site plan way
Yeah.
back in the way back was done.
But what's
all of
happened
this.
is from this to that, there's been a door added and a separation.
Yep, so now this whole thing is 3 instead of
Not for
1.
nothing, but I mean, I know this, it's not that it's not relevant, I guess, I just try not to go too far off on tangents, but I took over a second unit in my building in Plymouth, in the Landmark building, and I just wanted to knock a wall down in the unit that I had taken over. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It was a special permit, a site plan, a freaking, it was like I had to pay the mayor just to get it done. And it was the unit that I had already took over, you know what I mean? And I just wanted to knock a wall down between two offices to make it a bigger office
Right.
within the unit.
Now, isn't there
Well,
two?
that's a little different, because it's not 2 uses, it's not like you.
No, what I'm saying is I had to go through all that
Oh,
crap
yeah.
just to knock a wall down to make 2 offices
Well,
one
that's
office. This is taking an entire infrastructure and restructuring the entire internal use of the building.
Which is why
I get it, I know, I get it. Oh, yeah, right. I I get it.
But I understand too that in the part there that says not in the scope of work, that there's now some kind of a second business in there where they sell spirit.
Antiques?
Yes, so like her daughter is what I understand.
Crystals and stuff?
Yes, so I was trying to, spiritual something,
You said
yes.
spirit. I knew that.
Some type.
I know that
But
was
there's a
Rob
whole-
speak for crystals.
Yeah.
Spirit
It
stuff.
goes with the,
That's awesome. I saw you coming out of there on Sunday.
yeah, I had my crystal taped to my forehead, yeah.
Amber and crystals.
You weren't really in Texas, you were there.
Yeah, I was having spiritual.
I caught you,
Christmas,
sorry.
yeah.
Anyway, sorry. So we're trying to have fun here for once.
Just for the record, how many new office spaces have been created there?
At least 6.
Well, okay, do you want me to, can you, if I hold this up, can you see it?
Caesar zooms in on it again.
Face it towards the
Actually, no,
camera.
give it to Caesar. Caesar!
He's listening.
He's in the closet.
I know. Caesar, come out of the closet, would you?
No, Caesar's over there.
What's up?
Can we make
put
sure
that on?
Tom sees this?
Can you put that on a camera to show him?
Yeah, John, if you want to face it towards that camera, John.
We couldn't hear you.
I heard him, I was telling you.
I wasn't listening.
Can you see it, or you want me to go closer? All
Oh, there it is. Okay, now I'm getting the view.
right, I'm trying to be steady.
Okay. So that's a significant change in there.
Yeah,
So-
this is where he's going.
I need Bert to do that.
Yep.
Thanks, Caesar.
Yeah. And to the right of that is where is it kickbox?
Yes, that's the kickbox.
Yes.
Point to where you buy your crystals.
Oh, that I think is somewhere in this area here, somewhere in there, antique is what I understand.
With the parking's in the back where nobody can
Well,
see where you go.
Yeah, because behind her is where the locker rooms were for the fitness center back when.
Yeah.
But show the second door that you're talking about. The
Oh,
exit. There's no exit.
Tom, there's a hallway back here because
Yeah, that's new.
these two units closest towards the bank, which is in Amy's left hand here, where the bank would be.
Oh,
Oops, sorry.
sorry.
You are fine.
These are common shared men's and ladies' rooms for
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, well, it looks like all 4 units there. I don't know about going in the opposite direction where Amy's right hand is, or if they have their own men's and ladies' room. But this one here is showing a hallway off the
Yeah.
back to the men's and ladies' rooms in a side exit door.
That's all new. Those restrooms in the back, like I said, were part of the original fitness place way back. To the left of all that is where Compass Medical used to be. I don't believe anybody's in there any longer, but...
Do you want this still, or are you good?
No, I'm good, thank you. Thank you. You know, this is a place where, you know, we need to get some more information. What do the change of uses constitute? We need some feedback from the building official. I assume that they have building permits for this stuff. Know what his reviews may or may not have been. And you know, this is a place where, you know, we get to the owner about this site plan thing.
So
This is a place where we can kind of get.
just know, to Amy's point, when you give the kid the cookie, and then all of a sudden you tell them that you're not giving them the cookie, they usually they throw a temper tantrum. So just be prepared for that. Now, that doesn't mean give in and give them the cookie in this metaphor, but what I'm trying to say is that obviously, and I will tell you the same thing that we have told every business that has ever come in front of us, we want you in our town, okay?
Amen.
However, there are certain guidelines, as you've seen, that need to be followed for your protection, for the town's protection, for insurance, all of that, right? There's no special, there can't be any special treatment, otherwise you open everybody up to a liability. So we have asked the property owner to do a full site plan for these changes that have been moved over and over again. And unfortunately, we cannot bring it to the next stage until we receive that, which holds up your business plan. Does that make sense? Like, if we can get a new site plan of the property showing this, Because this is the last one that's been submitted, and none of these changes
So
are
you
on.
ask for all the changes and we just,
And every time we ask, we get met with a no chance. And so we have turned away more than 2 handfuls of businesses in my time here, because we refuse to get a correct site plan from this property owner. So I want to say this again. We want you in our town doing business. We want to take you through the proper protocols that are in our bylaws. We want nothing more than to bring good, hardworking people into our town and give you every opportunity to be successful. But this needs to be done right. So that's,
I can't tell them to do right.
no, but you can say that, but
What do you want me to say?
But here's the thing. You say, we can't approve your business. So what I'm saying is, so he asked, what he asked was, what could he do in order to go to the property owner? Essentially, you are a source of income to that property owner by being a renter, right? Money talks. So if you say, they will not take us to the next step in our approval until they get what they need for the property. And that holds up your business process, which holds up your ability to pay him rent, which means it's less money in his pocket. So to Amy's point, what are the consequences, or the jar that we can hold leverage is until something starts hitting this guy's pocket, but no business can go in this property now that these changes have been made. Correct? Am I wrong to think that?
I
So
don't know why it wouldn't be.
Forget
on
about past.
April 4th, they approved the site plan without having it with the,
I understand. What I'm saying though is,
But
okay,
now the-
this is March 20th. Okay?
I-
This is a different building design than what was approved 2 months ago.
yeah, I would
Okay?
agree with that.
So what I'm saying is, forget what's happened.
Yep.
We've been chasing this site plan down for at least the 3.5 years that I've been here.
1,000.
So now what I'm saying is, I'm sorry, but we cannot, and forgive me if I'm speaking out of turn, Mr. Chairman, we cannot.
No, I'm in agreement with you.
We cannot move forward with even hearing your special permit because this building, this site plan is not
I
up
know,
to
that's
date
what I
yet.
was just saying.
So this site plan is not up to date, which does not allow us to even hear the special permit, which is a shame on them because now they are feeling the repercussions of the property owner's delinquency. Did I say that delinquency? It still works, right? It works. All right. Am I wrong?
It's a little bit hard to
No,
leave.
I agree with you. I mean, this needs to come to a head at this point.
Here's the good news. There's a solution, and that's what we care about here. If the property owner gets us one of these
This is only that.
done correctly,
And how do these people
and we
get
can
it back?
work through
There's
your-
no door showing that.
Guys, let me ask you this, because you guys know more than I am. If we get, I'm trying to provide the solution now for these up-and-coming business owners. If we get the property owner to get us a updated site plan of the entire property with all of the changes that have been made, so that it is up to date and correct, that we can then send out for peer review and approved, we will gladly bring you through the process. Am I
That might take a month.
Depends on how bad he wants your business. And unfortunately, there's not anything that we can
Depends
do.
on me, it's for me, and I'm thinking in my head, like, do I want to go through all this or no?
And you know what? Unfortunately, you will be, I told you that there's probably 10 businesses we turned around, and now I'm gonna have to start counting on my toes, right? To count the amount of businesses that went, it's not worth it. And so we just start finding people that,
And the tax revenue, the town's missed out on,
yeah,
too.
100%, because this individual will not do what we're asking him to do. And good, hardworking potential business owners are feeling the consequences, and it's not fair to you guys. So if it comes down to it, you say, listen, I want to be in that building. That's a prime location for you. That'd be a beautiful spot for you. You go in there, go do the freaking site plan, man. That's all they're asking for.
Right.
And then we gladly will have the conversation with you. Can't wait. Told you, I smoke cigars, let's go. right? But we can't, because otherwise we're gonna have, and I mean this respectfully, we're gonna have that conversation over and over, and it has to stop.
Right, because in the same breath, it's been the practice in the past that it's been pick and choose who follows the bylaws,
So-
the requirements, the site plan, the peer review, and so like Amy has said in the past, that's happened in the past, we gotta go forward from this
But the
point
good
on.
news, but the good news,
On April
because,
4th,
but the good
the
news
site
is,
plan was approved with the 2 doors in the front.
yep, but the good news is, here's the good news. We don't have to have that conversation, because although it's noted,
Yeah.
that is already different than this. So
100%.
we have a new grounds to go back and go,
Right.
kidding me, dude?
Right.
You're not even playing, like, you're not even.
So I would suggest giving Mr. Maloney a call and have him get on it as soon as possible, and we'll get you rocking and rolling as soon as we possibly can.
100%. So you go there and say, they're not gonna let me in unless you give him a site plan, and he may look at you and go, tough luck. Or he might go, wow, there's.
It's about time they do it.
The interesting thing here is there is so much work that's already been done. This should not be that big a deal for him to accomplish.
Right.
Because he's got someplace to start from. It isn't like he's starting from scratch.
Yep.
He just has to get into the line, get his
$1,000 to do it.
Well, that wasn't the whole thing, though.
Yeah, well, still, it's a good portion
Well,
of
since this
We
is
shouldn't
a,
have had to do that.
it. Bingo.
But that was done wrong, too.
so does this need a motion to suspend this until receiving an updated site plan?
We're probably gonna
Yes,
need an
yes.
extension on the 45 days. What day was the application on this, Danielle?
Just the other day.
Okay.
Yeah, extend to the meeting closest to the expiration date, and then if we don't extend it,
Or
the only alternative is to deny it.
Well, it's not really a hearing, I'm just meaning like by the time we get, I think we should make note of it, but we should, like, we're gonna need the peer review and everything like that, so I'm thinking that maybe we push it to the end of June, just to be sure that it doesn't get constructive approval.
That doesn't mean you have to wait till the end of June.
You know what I'm
That means
saying?
we're giving you an extension.
Yeah, that's a reasonable thing to do. We can extend it out to the end of June, and, it doesn't mean it has to take that long.
No,
All right,
the sooner you get this done, if you can get this in within the next get this done by the next 2 weeks, we can have this conversation. I mean, it's gotta go for peer review and all that other stuff, but.
Yeah.
Do I have to come back in the meeting again?
Yeah, we're gonna ask you for an extension, to, June 30th, 2024, just so that, you don't have to reapply and spend more money to apply, does that make sense?
Okay.
So,
It's in your favor.
and then we'll just have it noted. So I make a motion to extend this site plan, to June 30th, to be available till, like, the 45 day to June, can I see that for a second? Okay, thank you. Thanks.
No, just make your motion to extend till,
Yeah, I know, but I just want to look at the date so I
If
can.
you submit it in like 15 days, I still have to wait till June 30th.
No.
So the extension, so what happens is when you apply, you have a certain amount of time to get it done, right? Otherwise, you're outside the timeline, and then you have to reapply, spend more money, put in a new thing. When we ask for an extension, it grants you the ability to get all of this done
Yes.
without having to reapply and spending more money. So but you can get all this done well before then.
No, but I think like flooring, I have to set up the soil, it's like at least 2
You
months.
can, once you're approved, you can go to work.
Okay,
So but I
so
have to wait till June 30th.
No.
No.
we're extending the expiration of your site plan application from May 24th, 2024 to June 30th, 2024, so that you don't have to apply again,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
we're giving you the time.
Right, if you can get this done next week, jump on it.
Yeah. What we're saying is that you had a very limited amount of time, and we just extended that for you so that you don't have to pay more money. Because it's in our hopes, for the record for the third time, that we can get this done, because we would love hardworking, good people in this town. We are just unfortunately handcuffed by the property owner not being compliant. So if you can get that done, and unfortunately, we can ask, and he goes, but you guys, we're not cutting checks for rent. You are. So you hold a lot more leverage to ask to have this done. But he may not, and if he does, let's go. Rock and roll. Is that cool?
So I have a question if I may.
I believe we have a motion on the floor. Is that motion still good?
Hold on one sec.
Next week, next board.
I
We have to wait.
I did make a
for the Next
motion.
board meeting, up till next board, not necessarily.
No, so what we need is, we need a site plan
Yes.
provided by the property
Property
owner.
owner, yes, understood.
If that's by the next meeting, we can discuss it, we can review it, we'll send it out for peer review, we'll do all that stuff, like, we'll do everything that we need to do. If he doesn't give it to you for a month and a half or at all,
Yeah, so we have time till June
Plan-
30th.
Correct.
So basically, we still have to wait till.
No, wait, nothing.
don't have to
We
wait.
don't have to
Get
wait.
the driver license. Yeah. Before we get approval from here.
No, but then to get an approval, we have to have that permission from the property owner. He needs, they
If he
need
gave
a
one day after
plan.
tomorrow.
The site plan.
If he gives
so
us
you have
tomorrow,
other, so you have other licenses that are being
I get it from the
held
state, yes.
because you need to show that you have an approved space to retail the tobacco.
Correct.
Understood. So, all the more reason to go to said property
Yeah.
owner and say, hey pal, you're really holding up the, you got quite a wrench in the gears here.
That was my point, like, until you guys have a next meeting and you approve me, I cannot apply for the.
Correct.
Right?
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
and I wish that weren't the case.
Yeah.
As a cigar connoisseur, I wish. However, we can't do this.
so when would be the next board meeting? May 2nd. May 2nd.
May 2nd.
Oh, 2 weeks.
But probably not for you. You probably, that's why we're doing the extension, because we're gonna need them to come in, have the whole property site plan, send it out for engineering. So I would probably say that you're either the second meeting in May or the first meeting in June, which is why we're doing the extension, so that your
Okay.
application doesn't expire
Okay.
before that.
But,
Yeah, okay.
Does that make sense?
but for the closest,
But we'll call you.
yeah, I'm the biggest, like, I'm a big fan of tackling the closest of, like, obstacle in front of you. The closest obstacle in front of you is getting us an updated site plan
Yes.
from that property owner to us as soon as possible, so we can discuss it on May 2nd. But if we receive it on May 3rd, it goes another 2 weeks, and then it goes out to peer review, and it takes another 2 weeks. But luckily, we've got a motion on the floor to extend you out to June 30th, so you don't have to pay any extra fees if you decide to continue.
Is that still on the
I'm
floor, or
trying
did
to
we
save
vote on
you
that?
money.
No, it's on the
Can't you
floor.
give us the benefit of doubt and approve that?
Ah! Were you not here for the first section? No, so there was, Amy was making a motion or made a motion.
I did make a motion.
Amy made a motion.
I made a motion to extend it from May 24th to June 30th, 2024 for site plan application.
Brendan Elliott seconds.
All right, we have a motion and it's been seconded. Roll
Brendan,
call vote, Mr. Elliott,
Brendan Elliott, yes.
Amy Troop, yes.
Mr.
Rick Gaynor, yes.
Yeah, Rick Mary, yes. Rick Mary, yes.
Tom Elliott, yes. Thank you, folks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, if you would like, I'll make a motion to approve and pay the bill from the Express newspaper on petition number 1001 for 416 Plymouth Street, revolving account number 25-174-5380 for the amount of $90.
I'll second.
I would like that very much. Can I get a second for that?
Second.
That was Amy Troop
Yeah.
making the
Oh,
second.
sorry. Yes, Amy Troop, second.
No,
I
that's all
forgot
right.
to say the name.
And again, a roll call vote, please.
Brendan Elliott, yes.
Ms. Troop,
Yes.
Mr. Gaynor,
Rick Gaynor, yes.
Mary,
Yeah, Rick Mary, yes.
Tom Elliott, yes. Unanimous, thank you. We have a spot on here for meeting minutes, but I didn't see a particular set of minutes. I know I've got a set
I'll
of
help you out
minutes.
with that. And I actually, we started this the last meeting, and so I'll just start it again. I would like to make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of Thursday, March 21st, 2024 as written. And it was Tom Melius, Robert Gainer, Amy Troop, and Richard Mary as voters for it.
Okay, well, we will take a roll call. Do I have a second to that?
I'll second that.
Okay, Rick Murray seconded that. A roll call vote of those present at that meeting.
Amy Troop,
Amy
yes.
Troop?
Bert Gainer, yes.
Rick Mary, yes.
Mr. Mayor? Tom Millius, yes. And I believe, other than some correspondence from surrounding towns, that they're forced to notify us about things that they did. Town of East Bridgewater, 0 to 13 Cross Street, decision letter. Town of Pembroke, 345 Washington Street, decision letter. Town of East Bridgewater subdivision approved for Blackbrook Estates. Town of Middleborough, public hearing of 108 Walnut Street, special permit for food lot.
I'll make a motion to accept the,
The meeting date of May 2nd, 2024. I don't think we have any other business unless I missed something.
Nope, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Oh, wait a minute, we have Fred who wants to say something, Fred Corrigan from the audience.
Yeah.
Okay.
One last thing, I would just like to hear that in the course of this meeting, that the board is going to be meeting with the building inspector as far as the enforcement for these violations that are already on this property.
Yeah.
So in the fact that he's not getting rent from people, he's also going to be spending some extra money with some 30-day fines on all of these violations. I would like to get that into the minutes of this meeting, so
well, just to correct you, we're not going to be meeting with the building inspector. We voted to send correspondence to him in a letter. It's not, just to be clear.
But be very specific as to what needs to be done, because there's a ton of fines out here. And this guy is not just looking at, one sign for $300 a day. He's looking at 10 signs for $3,000 a day.
Maybe. It's to a maximum of $300 per day per violation. It doesn't automatically become $300.
That'll be the enforcement agency. Yes, right. Exactly.
But we have a new building inspector, so I think we can get it done.
Can you make a motion to adjourn?
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Amy Troop,
I believe we have a motion to adjourn on the floor.
Rick,
I'll second it.
I'll second that.
say your name first.
And
Bert Gainer, second.
Rick Mary seconds the motion.
Brendan Elliott, yes.
Amy Troop, yes.
Bert Gainer, yes.
Rick Mary, yes.
Auf Wiedersehen.
yes, thank you, everybody.
Let me check with my crystal to make sure it's okay.
But we have a-